Germany, the enemy who drove all Europe into war, has been finally overcome. But at this hour, when the dreadful shadow of war has passed far from our hearths and homes in these islands, we may at last make one pause for thanksgiving and then turn our thoughts to the tasks all over the world which peace in Europe brings with it.
King George VI on VE Day 75 years ago. We hope you've been able to celebrate in some way the recognition of 75 years since that day.
Hi, I'm Bethany Warren, and you are joining me to listen to the podcast of our Millwall fan show with the No One Likes Us Talking team and hosted by Eamon Barkley, which is available every Friday at 8 p.m.
And tonight we have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Stan Godwin, Dave Hart, and Gary, our new roving reporter, staff.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Last week we sent the best wishes of the friends of Millwall fan Richard Walker, who was lying in King's College Hospital. Prodipta, who is a close friend of Richard's, and she wanted to say that Richard himself wanted to thank everyone from the bottom of his heart for what was said on the show, and he listened to it that evening. On Monday I learnt from Stephen, Richard's brother, that Richard had passed away that morning. What was remarkable was the large amount of good wishes we received for Richard from fellow fans. Thank you. We were also contacted again by Prodipta, as she wanted for us to thank everyone for those kind messages that they did send, and that they were read to Richard before he did pass away. It really made a big difference to him, hearing messages from his fellow Lion fans. I'm sure you'll join me and the No One Likes Us Talking team in sending our sincere condolences to the family and friends of Richard. R.I.P. Richard Walker. Hi Stan, good to have you back. Have you had any interesting situations in the last 7 days?
Well, I'm glad to be back. Apart from our normal pick-up with Ted, I mean, it's I've got to, because I'm going to have to hand this thing back to him later on, so I'm going to have to work out another way of doing it. But, it takes time to work these things out. But other than that, I can't say that it's an action, it's not an action-filled week. I mean, to be honest, I should be glad when all this is over and so we can just start go out and walk around, and you know what I mean. And but I understand apparently the Prime Minister is going to make some sort of announcement, I think, over the weekend. So we'll have to wait and see. But other than that, mate, no, not too much.
And Dave, how about yourself, mate?
Nothing much, just the usual. No football, so we just watch what we got recorded, what we got on DVD, what the BBC are putting on. The Coventry Tottenham Cup final. So basically, it's just recycling old stuff.
Well, we done well today. We had all that VE Day celebration stuff on the telly. That was quite fantastic. So
yeah,
that was a bit of a boost, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It certainly was.
Yeah. And Gary, how about yourself, my friend?
Quite an interesting week, as I say. I've done my first roving report, and that will come up later in the show. I moved my office, my position in the house, from the front room to the kitchen, so I've got more space out there. And I managed to find on Sky that they're rerunning, I think it's day by day, the season so far in the little highlight packages that they used to put on Saturday evenings. So about 6, 7 o'clock on a weeknight, you get a 20-minute video of the game they're showing that day. Tonight's was, unfortunately, a 2-0 loss at Blackburn earlier in the season.
That was yesterday. What are you talking about?
Was that yesterday's one?
Yeah.
What was yesterday's one? Just watched it.
What are you watching? Dear, oh dear, Harry. I can't believe it. Never mind. Anyhow, there's no dogs barking there tonight, so that's a bit of a bonus.
No, dogs of Berkshire have gone.
Yeah, the dogs of Berkshire have barked off. That's pretty damn good, that. First up, we hear from Adrian Stone, a Millwall fan and father of 2 boys who are in academy sides at Millwall and Bromley, respectively. Adrian himself has played in non-league football, including the Conference Leagues, with appearances in the FA Cup proper over the past 20 years. He concluded this season with Ashford Town, as the season was finished by the COVID pandemic. He also played for Bromley and Welling along the way. Tonight, he's talking about his son, Rhys Stone, who at 8 years old is in our academy structure. Here is Adrian. Tonight we welcome the father of one of our academy players, Rhys Stone. Dad Adrian, who joins us this evening, can be described as a remnant from the old den where he spent many a match day. Family hail from Sevenoaks, and many thanks, Adrian, for coming on to the show to talk about Rhys.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
We're delighted, absolutely delighted. How did Rhys come to join the Millwall Academy?
He was playing for his grassroots team, Glebe, based down at Chislehurst.
All right. And how did he get picked out of Glebe?
I'll be honest, he was 6 when he first joined Millwall, and it was his first season for Glebe. I was his manager as well, so yeah, I can't remember. It was quite long ago. I can't remember who he was exactly playing, but yeah, it just went from there.
I've had a little look at some of his skills and abilities. He looks a lively left-sided player who's got a good left foot, can step into the boots of Jed Wallace in about, 15 years' time. That would be useful, and score a few free kicks.
That's his favourite player for Millwall as well.
Is it? I can understand why. Why. You must see a lot of similarities in Jed Wallace and the way he plays. That's fantastic.
Definitely.
Who's the responsible guy? Is it Paul Palmer?
Paul Palmer's, he's basically one of the responsible coaches down there.
Yeah, I know he's been around at Millwall for a long while now. Must be.
That's it.
Yeah, about 10 years or so. He got a tremendous name. So, how much commitment is required of Rhys and yourselves in his being part of the academy setup?
I'll be honest, it is quite a big commitment. There's loads of travelling involved, but I'll be honest, I've been involved in football most of my life, and there's nothing better to see your younger one playing at a pro academy club. So I will travel all across the world just to watch him play.
In sort of real terms, what is a week like when they're playing? What sort of commitment do they have to give?
Well, he's in 3, sometimes 4 days a week, and obviously me and my wife, we both work full time, so it's a matter of whoever can finish work first, gets home, gets them changed, and straight down to either Well Hall on a Friday or down the Den 2 days a week as well. So yeah, it's a massive commitment, but like I said, we wouldn't change it for the world.
No, if that's what you want, and if that's what he wants, you always get behind your kids, don't you? That's wonderful.
Yeah.
How does he feel about being part of the Millwall Academy?
He absolutely, he loves it. He's I'll be honest, I'm not going to name no clubs. Had, I think it's 5 Premier League pro academies after him, another one in the Championship and a league below. I said to him, Rhys, it's entirely up to you what you want to do. He said, Dad, I want to sign for Millwall. And the way they treat their players down there, Millwall, Paul Palmer, Aaron, Gus, etc., it's unbelievable. I'm just so happy that he's a part of them. And like I said, they just treat their kids like their own, and it's unbelievable.
Got a very proud, long history bringing youngsters through. Quite amazing. I tell you what, Adrian, I looked at him, and I must say he's impressive. Perhaps we'll come back to you sometime next year and see where he's up to then, because if he carries on like he is, I think we've got a star in our hands. Let's hope so, anyhow.
Fingers crossed. Thank you.
Adrian, thanks ever so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. And all the best to Reese. And
Thank you very much.
keep up the good work. Cheers, mate.
I will do. Thanks for having me. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye. Dave, I know you have watched this young lad on his Twitter account. What do you reckon?
Well, he seems to be. He's got good ball control, and for his age, he's quite fast. Keeps it under control. And his left foot. What I saw on the video clip was absolutely great. It looked like he'd taken the goalkeeper's hair off it with his hat.
It does actually. You're right. It looks like that. But he scored it. He scored a cracking free kick as well with one of those.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing. Gary, you've experience with football and players evolving over the years in age progressive leagues. Briefly, what do you consider the challenges that coming out at the other end of an academy and signing as a professional?
I think from when I was younger, it was probably a lot easier because when you look at players like Ian Wright and players like that who come through the ranks, and actually maybe Ian Wright's not the best example. I think he actually come through a bit later. But these players who were boot boys who learnt their trade working with and helping out the professionals, it's not like that anymore. This is the problem. So you've got kids that aren't being taught the hard way, if you know what I mean, like being taught to clean the dressing room out, clean the toilets, so they appreciate what they get into. They're coming out, they're signing pro terms. If you're a Premiership club, if you're a Premiership player, you're being lucky you're putting out on loan. Look at people like Chelsea. They must have about 50, 60 players out on loan.
Yeah.
And clubs like Millwall and stuff like that do benefit from it, but it's not how it was. And I wish it would go back to how it was, where these kids are taught the hard way so they start appreciating what they're going to get and respecting what profession they're going to get into. So I feel something needs to change there, because at the moment, you sign from as an academy into a professional, you've got to respect what you're going into. And if you get your opportunities, now our kids like Bellingham from Birmingham, and we can name loads from Millwall, Thompson, etc., players down the line, they've got to respect it. I do feel these kids are respectful, but Bellingham, I think he needs another 2-3 seasons in the Championship before stepping up into the Premier League. He's not going to play football for the Premier League, is he? He's not going to walk into one of those teams now.
No. I mean, that side of it, there are people that say they need to develop a bit of respect. But I did listen to his father, Adrian, who said, the Millwall setup is very demanding. Those kids are there 3 or 4 times a week, either at Eltham and at the Den. And also this year, he said to me, they've all got to produce their school reports to show that they're doing that as well. And if they're not, then that's likely to go against them and their progression.
Yeah, it is really good. It takes it almost to the American way.
Yeah.
Like if you watch the academies and the scholarships they get out there, they don't get a scholarship if they don't get their grades.
No.
So it's very good.
No, that's true. Stan, do you think Scott Fitzgerald, who is our director of the academy, is showing that we can produce talent?
Well, yes, but you see, until of recent times, Scott Fitzgerald has, he's been ploughing on a lone furrow, because it has to be said, and it's not Scott Fitzgerald's fault, but I mean, he's been in charge of the academy for a number of years now. Now, it's a fact that when, say, for example, Kenny Jackett was the manager, there was very few players that suddenly come from the academy sides and then made it into, when I say made it into the first team, actually played. I'm not talking about starting in August and finishing, in May, but there was very few of them he brought in. And what he tended to do was get academy players from elsewhere, and it must have been really frustrating for somebody like Scott. But you see, picking up on the point that Gary made about what it used to be like and this system you got now, I mean, he makes a valid point, because if you recall, Eamon, when we've done the radio show, when we were doing it at Love Sport Radio, and also when we've done our podcast as well, where we've had ex-players come through, like Phil Coleman,
yeah,
and other players, I've always asked them about the academy system. Now, I'm not talking about the ability of the kids. I'm talking about the ability of the coaches. I'm talking about the actual system.
yeah.
And, because I had a lot of people, like Ray Wilkins, was slating the system. He was saying it's no good in comparison to what it used to be like the South East counties and the London Midweek League and all these sorts of things. And everyone I've ever asked, ex-player that's come through that system, have always said that was the better system than what we got now. There's a lot of work to be done in the academy systems, but at the end of the day, it's down to these managers, to give these kids, when they get when they got the chance, to give them an opportunity. Because I think in academies they play 2 games a month, and I remember listening to Mark McGee once when he was saying that when he's worth. He's worth listening to, because he was the bloke that gave Robbie Keane his chance and Emmy Wesky his chance, right? And look what happened to them and how they went on to progress. And he turned around and said at the time, he said, if you've got a player like that, like Robbie Keane, you have a decision to make. You either send him out on loan somewhere, or you play him in your first team, because they're playing 2 games a month in this academy system as it was then, and it's no good to them.
No,
And,
I think what you're saying, in essence, Dan, is certainly coming out and peeling out at the top end. It's a challenge, and things need to get lined up along the way to make it happen.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, they do need to do it.
But what we've got, I think, now is they've added 2 layers. They've added the under 9s and the under 8s this last year, and if you look at the structure of what we've got, it's quite incredible, and they got upgraded as well. But I also, in the back of my mind, didn't we drop the academy system under Kenny Jackett? Yeah,
they did, and we lost out on that because it was done on the question of at the time. It was costing the amount of money that it was, and
I think it was
where
about
we
2
lost
million.
out apparently is we downgraded from an academy system to some other a school of excellence.
Yeah, it was
right,
poor.
which was lower, and the trouble with it was we had players in there, like young kids at the time, and when it then dropped from an academy system to school, they then left. They went to other clubs, went straight into their academy, and then went on to make their way into first team football, and therefore we lost that opportunity.
But it came back, and it's all been made good. So
that's
right, a real bonus. Well, what I'm going to say is, we hope that young Reese has quite a bit of success. He's playing two years above his mark already, and we'll have to get back to Dad Adrian and see how he keeps going on. I think he's one to watch. And Kelly Webster, who's the old Lionesses goalkeeper, said that he's got a lot of talent, and we'll see. We'll get back to Adrian and we'll hear about Reese again. Okay, well, we'll go over onto our next topic, and I don't really want to dwell on this subject. It's been done to death, really. But over the last few weeks, we've heard about the will we, won't we complete the season views. The Germans, who don't calculate their COVID-19 deaths in the same way as us and the Italians, according to Patricia Maslin, are the first to have been given the green light to resume the Bundesliga by Angela Merkel in the continent known as Europe. But Gary, some of the No-Luck team have held some strong views. In essence, it now appears that the government's key indicators need to be met, and a statement given by the government supporting the sport restarting. Fair or flawed?
Fair, because health is the number one concern. However, they've been talking about this for a good 4 or 5 weeks now, and I'm seeing things today that clubs are starting to start training again on the May the 16th, and we're all standing here waiting on Boris's word on Sunday. And I think with the way the results are going and the way the ticks are going in the right boxes at the moment, I think we're not too far off. We won't be going. I tell you now, we won't be going to watch games, but I think the season will finish. And as Ted was saying, I think it was last week, I think the season we might have just a 1-2 week gap in between, have a restart, maybe have a little transfer window in the middle so players can move around if needs be, and then we're starting next season. But I do feel we will finish the season.
Okay, Stan, what do you see as the challenges to the season once restarting being meaningful or meaningless?
This issue is becoming an absolute nightmare. I agree. I mean, I think that I've always taken the view that if the season ever started again, or what was left of it, I never had any doubt that we would be playing behind closed doors. What I never factored into it is that clubs might be playing at venues which were not their grounds, you know?
Yeah.
That's what's thrown me. Now, see, I somewhat despair of the Football League and the Premier League, because every time I listen to them, all I keep hearing, you see, to me, you know, they're putting the cart before the horse. Every time these people open their mouth, all I keep hearing about is money. Money this, money that, right? And I think what they're more interested in doing at this moment in time is securing their money, and then when they've secured the money, then they then start looking at the football, which in my opinion should be the other way round.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you take the English Football League, there are at the moment there are 71 clubs in that league, and at the end of all this, and it's going to be difficult for everybody, you know, I want to see a league, or the English Football League with, 71 or 72, right, in it. And, you know, I mean, I read today that they reckon that come the end of the season, whenever that is, right, even if it's along the lines of what Gary's saying, you're going to have something like 1,400 players out of contract.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you see the other problem you've then got. I mean, this is where it becomes a nightmare. I mean, you see at the moment, all this is going on. I keep hearing this thing about wages are out of control. We need a wage cap, and you know, and it's ridiculous these amounts of money that are being paid and whatever. Now, all that might be true, right? In my opinion, right, if you're going to have a wage, if there is an argument to have a wage cap, then if they don't do it with this, they're never going to get it done. It will never ever happen again. And always, if they don't get it in this, it's going to be pie in the sky.
Yeah, good point, well made. I mean, there's a whole host of stuff that's going on. There's clubs in the Premier League saying, well, they ain't going to be up for it unless because they're not playing in their own grounds. They don't want relegation. They want this. They want that. There's Parry saying, well, we might play sub 45 minutes. I mean, where does all this end and stop? And as you say, the money seems to be the driver, rather than we want to be and finish a successful season that confirms champions, but also confirms the relegation and the changes that need to take place. It's tragic, I think, how the way it's going, and I hope some of the fans who see what's going on sit on their hands and look at how their clubs are performing in their demands. Dave, it's been intimated that the pandemic will have cost EFL clubs some 200 million. What could be done to address this loss, or is it something that can only be resolved over time?
Well, there's not a lot we can really do about it, to be fair. Obviously, the loss is going to vary from club to club.
Yeah.
Some have got a higher running cost than others. The furloughing of staff has helped. Players taking a pay cut will have an effect on it. But it's something that's going to take probably 3-4 years to recover.
Yeah, I mean, you can add to that the news from the Bank of England today that says we're going to have the biggest recession since 1702, and that's not 2 minutes past 5. That's over 300 years ago. You know, it's just incredible. And if they're saying 40% drop, let's just put that in a context. In the football field, that could even be bigger, because they ain't going to have people in the stadiums. They ain't going to be able to do commercial activities. It's really going to be a major challenge. So I think you're right. It's going to take years for us to recover, unless some of these clubs that get major money at the top of the pyramid decide they're going to drop some parachute payments down the league. We'll have to wait and see. Anyhow, thanks for that, guys. Anyhow, we'll take a break and we'll listen to our one and only Bethany Warren.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover.
Bethany Warren here again. Thank you for listening to our show. Don't forget, Love Sport Radio is now mothballed pending change in current pandemic conditions. Love Sport are still running previous programmes, and you can hear some programmes on demand online. You can still listen to repeat programmes both online and on DAB. Hopefully we'll be back on the air with them quickly when conditions improve. In the meantime, watch out for our podcast adverts on Facebook and Twitter. Our podcast show links are available on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, Spreaker, iTunes, SoundCloud and Pinterest.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover.
So that was good. A bit of the old wartime music with blue and white in it. We're back, and I have a Gary Staff, Stan Godwin and Dave Hart from the No One Likes Us talking team with us. And it's goodbye, legend, hero or thank you on the anniversary really of it being part and parcel of our shows for quite a while. And also in the week in which Patricia Maslin made a statement on Millwall past and present about what is a Millwall legend and a Millwall hero. There's some interesting views on that. So worth a look if you can manage it. Anyhow, so it is goodbye, legend, hero or thank you. And hello to the Millwall top 20 goal scorers of this century. And that's from 2001, I might add. As produced by Bringing Stats Alive Football, who you can find on Facebook and who produce fantastic visualizations of things like football statistics, which is quite challenging. Anyhow, they've made that look good. First up is Richard Sadlier, who scored 15 goals for the Lions and sits in the 20th position. Stan, your thoughts on Richard Sadlier?
Well, he was a legend in the making. And unfortunately, his career was cut short by injury.
Yeah.
I mean, it was being said that he was... I don't know if he actually played for the Republic of Ireland.
He got one cap
game,
for them.
He was, or he was going to be playing for them, and he was considered to be the natural heir and successor to Noel Quinn.
He was.
Right. Now, apparently, West Brom, when they was in the Premier League in the early 2000s, it was rumoured that they was after Richard Sadlier. But no, I mean, in my opinion, it was a career cut short tragically by injury. But I've got no doubt that had he not had all that, he would have come. He would have gone on to obviously to score more goals. And I mean, he's a bit of a cult hero now. I mean, I have to say that, and I've got no problem with that. But I think he would have gone on to be a legend in my opinion.
In that sense, right? So. Sad, I mean, in his career, 103 appearances, 34 goals. From 2001, he put 15 in the back of the net. And, of course, sadly, his career came to an end in 2002-03. And he was a great loss to Millwall. And he was also a great loss to the Republic of Ireland. So, yeah, Gary, what's your thoughts on Sad? So, you got much memories of that?
I do. I remember him very well. Gutted for him, if I'm being honest. Great player. looked like a great lad, was starting to form a very good partnership up front with. I think it started with Neil, and then I think it was around the same time when Neil got cancer, and then he started building a really good partnership with Mr. Claridge up front. And Claridge, I was listening to a interview with him the other day, said he was natural. He said he wasn't a target man. He wasn't just a striker. He had everything to his game. And Claridge talked very highly of Richard Sadlier, and I was truly gutted. And I sentiment what Dave said. He was a hero in the making.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed he would have stayed around as well. But it was a time when bigger clubs were knocking around us, picking up on a few of our players. And
it wasn't only old Claridge that said that. Paul Moody said, he had a left foot, a right foot, and a good head. He could get in and amongst it wherever it was happening. He put himself, I suppose, if we cast our mind back when we was talking about Alf Wood, and used the term that George found difficult to explain, he was like an old-time striker. He definitely had some of those. He'd get in where it could hurt.
Exactly. I thought he actually scored more goals as well.
Yeah, hell of a lot more goals. He was only really a kid when his game was over. Dave, what about you?
It was a real shame, as everyone has said, but when you saw him play, Richard just knew where to be. His reading of the game was excellent. He would have gone on to be a really great player. I don't think he would have stayed with us. He probably would have moved on. Probably, I would expect to maybe Man United. He was that good. The potential there to be unlocked was tremendous. Yeah. And it was a real shame that injury cut him in his prime.
And he scored some cracking goals.
He did score some really lovely goals. There's a pleasure to watch.
One at Walsall and also one at Gillingham that I remember were both incredible. And I actually interviewed him on a special way back, and I actually said to him, I said, you were the next best thing after Teddy Sheringham coming out of Millwall, and I'd still say that today to him, because I haven't seen anyone come through really with the quality that he possessed at that age, straight through into the Millwall ranks. So now's question time, guys, and it's no longer a question of hero or anything like that. It's, was he a goal hanger, a good striker, or a class striker? How about you, Dave?
I would say he was a good striker that would be a class striker.
But would be class striker. Fair enough.
Definitely.
Stan?
Oh, I'd say class striker.
Yeah. And how about you, Gary?
I'm not going to sit on the fence. I was sitting here thinking good striker, stroke class striker, but I'm going to go class striker. For the small period he was with us, definitely class striker.
He made a real impact there. So, Richard Sadlier, if you're listening tonight, you were a class striker with the Lions and in the top 20 of Millwall's strikers of the 21st century. You will remember that listeners wanted to hear about the 2 Millwall trips to Wembley that preceded our return to the Championship in 2010-2011 and the return itself. Last week we had Alan Dunn, and this week we have a player that followed in Dunny's footsteps by claiming the player of the season for 2010-11. He started his career as a trainee at West Brom and was released without a first-team appearance. He joined Hereford United and then Orient before joining the Lions. He was seen as a rising star in the centre-back position as Kenny Jackett brought him into the Lions' den upon our return to the Championship. It is, of course, Tamika Makandawiri, or Tam as we called him. Welcome to the show, Tam. We trust you and yours are well in these challenging times.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. We're all good, thank you. Just biggest challenges trying to entertain the kids. But aside from that, we're all good, thank you.
Yeah, the kids take a bit of handling in times like this, there's no doubt about it. How did you actually come to join Millwall for the first season back in the Championship?
It's an interesting story. I think Kenny had tracked me for quite a while, because I think when I was at Hereford, I think he came to watch me a few times. He was then the Swansea manager, so I think I was on his radar for a long time. And then when I obviously went to Orient and Kenny was at Millwall, obviously it's obviously not. It was closer for him to come to watch, and I think Richard Shaw and Joe Gallen, and obviously himself, had watched me quite a while during that spell at Orient. And as the January window came up that year of 2010, I think it was, I think Millwall had placed a bid for me, trying to buy me from Orient, and Orient weren't in a position to sell me. I think we were struggling at that point, and we were kind of in a relegation dogfight. So they were in kind of no real position to let me go. And then during the summer, just as the season was coming to an end, my agent kind of made me aware of the interest, and I met Kenny pretty much as soon as the season ended, and it was just before the playoff game to take us into the championship. And I said I was interested, definitely interested, and it just went from there, really.
Kenny definitely had you in his sights, and you were being hailed as a star for the future. When Kenny got you into the Millwall team, he used you in a midfield defence role, which he kept you playing at for most of the season. Tell us how that actually happened.
Yeah, again, it was very interesting. I think at the time, competition for the centre-back space was pretty high. You had obviously myself, Robbo, Wardy, Tony Craig, Donny obviously played there sometimes. So, competition was high, level was high, which is very good. And I felt that, I could definitely compete with the guys coming in. And, we started pre-season. I played a couple of games at right back and a couple of games at, I think, 1 or 2 at centre back. And then the season started, and I remember the first game, Joe Gallen sort of pulling me aside and saying, "Hey, listen, Kenny's going to go with the guys who got them promotion, got the club promotion." And I just said to him, that's no problem for me. They obviously deserve it. I've only been here a short time, and I don't have a problem with that. I'm going to just continue doing what I do and working hard and fighting for my place. And so I did that, and obviously we started really well. And I think we beat Bristol City. I think was it 5-1 the first game.
It was a good result, that first game against Bristol City. It was 3-0.
That's all right. Another thing, we beat Coventry. Anyway. We started really well. So that was good. And then I think Darren Carter came in on loan to play in midfield, and I think he got sent off in the first game. I think against Bristol, and we had, I think the week after, we had Wickham in in one of the cup games.
It was a League Cup game against Wickham, yeah. League
Cup, that was it. Wickham away, and Kenny on the Monday pulled me aside and said, "Listen, I'm going to play you in the centre midfield tomorrow." So I was kind of he'd mentioned it at the weekend against Bristol City. As the game was progressing, but obviously it didn't happen. No. And then on the Monday, he said, "I'm going to play you. Just use your experience. I'm not expecting you to do anything crazy or to be like Lionel Messi. Just use your experience, your athleticism, and you'll be playing as a defensive midfielder. So, just go and enjoy the game." And then I obviously went and played the game and did well, and we won and we progressed. So, and then that was pretty much it. I think the next game was, I think it might have been Watford at the weekend, and I didn't start, but I came on. I think we lost that one. And then, heavily. And then we played Reading. I think it was a Tuesday night, and I started in centre mid. And then that was it. The rest is history.
Yeah, as they say, the rest is history. So what were the highlights of that season for you?
Highlights were obviously, playing in the Championship. It was great experience, and I loved every minute of it. I think one game as a highlight was Crystal Palace at home, where Jason Punchin got a hat trick, and then Palace away again, and just being in a team where everyone was on the same page, and the fans played such an important part in that for me, in terms of just giving the team back in and playing it at the Den every week, and coming up against the players in the Championship and testing yourself against those players. It was just the whole season was really a highlight for me, and I think I could, it kind of exceeded my expectations. So everything about it was a highlight for me. Every game I went into and wanted to enjoy it and obviously give my best like everyone does. But the whole season, just being a part of it and kind of just being a part of Millwall really was a highlight for me.
Of course, you walked away with the Player of the Season award.
That's all right. Yeah, I got the Player of the Season award. Again, I was pleasantly surprised that I won that. I think obviously we had a very talented team. So again, I was very, very happy to win that, and I'm honoured to have won that, and it's something I look back on with immense pride. In at Millwall and in the Championship, and yeah, I'm very proud of that.
No, it was fantastic and well deserved. You really had a remarkable season, no doubt about that at all.
Thank you.
The following season came along, and you ended up playing your last game for the Lions. Can you tell us what happened?
I think what happened was I'd actually got injured against West Ham. We played West Ham at the Den,
right. Yeah.
And I actually got injured probably about 20 minutes into that game. 25 minutes into that game, I went up for a header, defensive header, and I think it was me, Fordy, and Jordan Stewart all challenged for the same ball. And as I came down, Jordan Stewart's knee came just smashed into the side of my knee, my left knee. And then I was when we landed on the floor, and when I went to stand up, I couldn't stand up. My knee just buckled. And I just remember thinking, this is strange. I'll just run this off. And sort of carried on till half time. Spoke to the physio at half time, and I kind of said, "Look, I'm struggling here. My knee, I can't put any weight on my knee." And I remember them I think Joe Gallen said, "Come on, we need you. Just give it a go for 10 minutes." So I've kind of like bandaged it up or whatever, and taken some painkillers and gone out for the second half. And then after I couldn't really move, and so after about 60 minutes, I came off. And then we kind of assessed the situation. My knee was really swollen, and the next day it's swollen even more. And then so I missed the game. The next game was against Wolves on the Tuesday in the cup. So I missed that one because of my knee, because my knee had blown up, and they couldn't. It needs to the swelling needs to reduce for you to see anything. So I had a scan. Scan didn't show anything, but my knee was obviously still swollen. So we just kind of let it settle down. And then I went back to training because the scan was clear.
Yeah.
Didn't feel quite right, but I wanted to play and I wanted to train. I wanted to get back out there. So we carried on, and I think the next game I started was Brighton at home at the Den, and I played right back. And again, didn't feel quite right, and I think I played the whole game, but kind of limped my way through it. And then after that, I think we had like an international break, and we decided to go, and me and the physio Bobby Bassett, we had a talk, and we said, we've got a break, let's go in and see what's going on. It can't be anything bad because the scan was clear, so let's go in and see, have an exploratory op to see what's going on. So anyway, we've gone into this op thinking, we'll be out 4 weeks maximum. They'll just go in, clean up some cartilage, and then they went in. I woke up and they said, if you've torn your cartilage, it's folded back on itself, so it folded in half. That's why I couldn't see anything on the scan. Yeah. So it's torn itself quite badly, and so then it's folded back on itself, so it wasn't clear. Anyway, they said 3 to 4 months. So I'd gone from being out for 4 weeks to going to being out for 3 or 4 months. So obviously devastated because obviously of the time frame, but not the worst thing in the world. Anyway, we had the surgery. Rehab was going well, and then it kind of came to running and kind of obviously doing the more active, agility movements and stuff. And I felt okay, but my knee kept swelling, so it was I felt like it wasn't 100% right. So we decided again to go in, have a look. There was a bit of cartilage floating around in there, I think, and it got cleaned up. And then I came back out, and then obviously that put me out to the end of the season. And then the following season, and then that was it basically, wasn't it? That was it. I think from there, I kind of never. I think I was on a bench a couple of times. Never started another game, which was, extremely disappointing for myself. I kind of felt like I wanted to play. I felt maybe wrongly that I deserved the chance to play again for the first team. But looking back, I think in my head I wanted it to be perfect, and it was never going to be perfect. I'd had 3 surgeries on it. I had the same exact surgery at 17, so it would have been my 3rd surgery on the same knee, on the same issue. And I think, looking back, I probably had it wrong in my head in terms of it was never going to be perfect. I kind of just had to get on with it. I kind of lost all confidence in my knee in terms of at that time, taking weight on it, and I probably thought I wasn't going to play. I wasn't going to play to the standards I'd set. So I think, that side of it was, I look back, and at the time I didn't see that, but now I look back and it's pretty clear to me that was my thought process, which again, obviously you live and you learn, but again, very disappointing time for me in terms of leaving. Millwall obviously going on loan to Southend, which was good, but ultimately, leaving Millwall was very disappointing. I wanted to I saw myself being there for, a much longer time, especially after the first season. Yes. I kind of saw myself being there and kind of, just seeing my career out there, being obviously very successful and playing a huge number of games for the club.
Well, it wasn't to be, and sadly it wasn't to be, because I think the fans genuinely saw you as a key player for the future. But you did go on and play with Shrewsbury, which you captained, and then you went to Tampa Bay Rowdies as well and made 96 appearances there. So what are you doing right now?
Yeah, I kind of had a resurgence. When I came to the States, it was kind of a fresh opportunity for me, and with the heat and the climate, it was great for my body. My body felt good again. My knee felt good, and I like you say, managed 96 appearances, and I had a great time in Tampa. Obviously, I retired a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And we've now moved out to California, so we're in Irvine, California, and
more sunshine.
More sunshine, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love a bit of sunshine. So
good.
We just felt it was a now or never moment. Finishing, we could either go back to England or we could kind of give it a shot out here out west, and we just kind of went for it. And we've been here about 2 years now. I'm coaching with LA Galaxy in the girls' academy, and I kind of train some athletes as well. I've always been into kind of health and fitness and sports performance, so I do that as well. Do some individual private sessions with football. So yeah, it's turned out quite nicely.
Well, it was a journey well made, and it's been a journey that's been well meant thus far. Well, all I can say, Tam, is we wish you and your family all the best, and under these challenging times, I hope the kids don't drive you too mad, but I'm sure you'll look back on this in years to come and say, wow, we got through it. That's wonderful, Tam. Thanks ever so much for coming on.
No worries, Amy. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Take care of yourself.
And you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Great to hear from Tam, and good to hear he has been busy entertaining the kids in California. Not a bad place, I suppose, to entertain the kids in the lockdown. Stan, you've always rated Tam and was disappointed that injury ended his Lions career. What do you remember about him?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was interesting because the story goes, right, that Kenny Jackett was the season he actually signed him, a fee had been agreed, and then the chairman of Orient reneged on it, and they wanted more money. Now, apparently the story goes is that Millwall wasn't going to be prepared to pay that, because at the end of that season, Tam McCandy was out of contract, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, he didn't, and the word is Kenny Jackett said to him, "Will sit tight," because when the season ended and the transfer window opened, over he come. But up until then, I didn't really know a lot about him. Although I'd seen him, obviously it worked out he played against us when he was playing for Orient. But when he come to us, he looked very polished at that point. But then you think to yourself, well, okay, he's come out of Division 1. He's now stepping into the Championship. Will he be able to make the step up?
Yeah.
In my view, he did it effortlessly.
He did.
And he was very good as a defender, good reader of the game, that very rarely got caught out. But then you see the coup de grace was then on one occasion he then gets played into midfield.
Yeah.
And he was a superb midfield player. Absolutely. Yeah. And good. At the end of the first season, rightly so, the supporters voted him Player of the Year. So no, Sam I highly rated, and unfortunately, it's a shame that his career at that level was cut short by injury. I mean, okay, he did go on to other clubs, but they were sort of down the pyramid. So, but no, in the time he was with us, I thought he was a quality player, and I've got no doubt that if he'd have not got injured, he'd have probably been at Millwall, possibly until the end of his career, or a good 3 or 4 years.
That was it. That was his own view. He wanted to stay at the Den, and he was taken, I think, by Tampa Bay Rowdies because they saw him as a cultured player, which lies in with your remark earlier on. He was a class act, no doubt about it. So, Dave. Amazing how our manager, Kenny Jackett, at that time, followed him and captured him for us. I mean, he was looking at him while he was at Swansea. Would you rate Kenny in making inspired signings and loans?
Kenny could see a good player. His staff, his scouting staff behind him were very good. The only criticism I've got about Kenny is that sometimes he was too cautious in his loan signings. Like the two that stick in my mind are Jordan Rhodes, who we could have got for a couple of $100,000, and he went on to Blackburn and scored hatfuls of goals. And Chris Wood, as you know, we had him on loan, and that went after we had him on loan. The fee went up to 1.1 million, I believe. So he was a bit too cautious on the loan signings and not making a signing. I mean, if we'd have signed Rhodes and Chris Wood, I think, things would have been a lot different. And Kenny might have been with us a bit longer. Yeah,
and we could have been in the Premiership. Because Leicester took Wood, they went up. Gary, do you think we've had a defensive midfielder since Tam that you would recall who made a great impression?
There is one person who stands out in my mind straight away, and he stayed for us for 10 years, and that's a certain Mr. Abdu. What a player, what a man. And even in his last season at Millwall, come back into a side where he wasn't really favoured at the beginning of the season, come in, I think he replaced Ben Thompson, so I think Ben was just maybe tiring. He'd played a lot of the season, came in, played the last 6 to 8 games, I think, including the final, and assisted on getting us promoted. And that man will always be a legend in my eyes.
I mean, there's another name that got thrown up. I was looking at questions to John Berylson, both on Twitter and on Facebook, and the one that come up more frequently than any other, and the issue was said there that one of the greatest defensive midfielders that we've seen is playing for us at this moment. Can we spend the money and keep him? Jason Malumbi.
I'm probably still black and white on Jason Malumbi. I think he's a very good, very, very good prospect. I think there's still a lot more to get out of him. I brought up Jimmy because he's a legend. He came and proved himself. Yes, I'd love to sign Jason, but how much would Brighton want? But could this current environment change that figure now? Could the greed, as we were discussing earlier, suddenly start disappearing from from football. Well, we can only hope.
Let's be hope. That was lovely to hear from Tam, and hopefully we'll get him back again on the show, and he can tell us a few more details about his short but brilliant career with the Lions. He certainly remembers all the names and everything that went on with incredible detail, and the games that he played. So we'll catch up with Tam again. We're now going to have a break, and we're going to listen to our Patricia Maslin, talk about the Millwall Community Trust.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover.
Hi, Patricia Maslin here. The Millwall Community Trust needs volunteer help. Whether you're an organisation with bodies able to assist or an individual, the Trust needs you during the pandemic to support the vulnerable and the needy. If you can help make a difference, please contact Sean Daly, the Trust's Chief Executive Officer. You can contact him by phone on 07958 027060. Once again, that's 07958 027060. Or you can contact him by email, sdaly, that's SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. I'll repeat that, sdaly, spelt SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. Thanks again if you think you may be able to help or you know someone who might.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover.
Well, welcome back. We've got the No One Likes Us talking team on our Millwall fan show of Stan Godwin, Gary Staff and Dave Hart. And first up in the third segment is our new roving reporter, Gary Staff. And he caught up with long-time Millwall sponsor and our Millwall Fans Show sponsor, Dean Wilson. Let's hear what they spoke about.
Following on from our recent interview with Craig Wilson, we also want to catch up with his dad, a friend of the show, Dean Wilson. Dean is well known around Millwall due to him being an active sponsor of the club and is currently, well, when football returns, the corner flag sponsor. Along with this, Dean also sponsors our show. Dean has been a Millwall fan all his life. He even did some coaching, goalkeeping coaches with them in the past in the academy. You will probably know Dean from his funeral business. However, Dean spent 30 years of his life as a firefighter, retiring just last year. Welcome to the show, Dean. I hope you and your family are coping well with the lockdown.
Hi, Gary. Thanks for having me on the show, mate. Well, I'm getting out, but the family are going stir crazy like the rest of the nation, I would imagine.
I can imagine. Yeah. So, Dean, how did your association with Millwall come about?
I think it was probably like a lot of Millwall fans, to be honest with you, Gary. I didn't have much choice. I'm a fourth generation Millwall fan. I first got taken down to the Den when I was 5 by my dad, his brother, my uncle, and my granddad, and all coming from sort of Camberwell, Walworth and Bermondsey areas. As I say, I didn't have a lot of choice. And like most Millwall fans, once you've been down there, you've got the bug, and that's it for life.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Obviously, my dad was a South London publican. You know, he had pubs around the Peckham and Nunhead area, so it all just fell into place that I'd support Millwall.
Yeah, same style rings true with me. My granddad was a Millwall fan, my dad was a Millwall fan, and I just followed suit. And my son's already been down there, and he's only 3. So
no, I've got some great memories of being down there as a kid at the old Den, and obviously having my dad with me at the new Den until he passed away. But it's a family thing.
Yeah, and obviously Craig follows on as well as Swift.
Old Dave. He's fanatical. Craig's absolutely fanatical about the club.
I do, and I bet we're all missing it, aren't we, at the moment?
It's, it gets to 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, and we're all a little bit stuck as to what to do. You'd either be down the Den or you'd have travelled to an away game.
Yeah.
So, I can't wait for it to get back, to be honest.
Me too. Would you cope with it being behind closed doors, do you think?
I personally don't see how they can do it behind closed doors, because I think you run the risk of people turning up anyway, and you're not just looking at 22 players on a pitch. I mean, you've got all the
medical staff, the security staff. There's going to be lots of people there anyway. So, you know, and it's a physical game. It's a contact game.
Of course.
So I'm not really sure how they're going to do it. But, I mean, if it means getting the season finished, then they may well come up with a way.
Yeah, exactly. So the funeral business, Dean, how did you get involved in that? Not the most common role to take on, is it?
No. Well, I'd say 30 years ago, I joined the Fire Brigade in 1989.
Yeah.
And I did my training. And obviously, firefighters, we work shifts. We work nights, so we get quite a few days off. And, you know, to fill those days, lots of firefighters have other jobs.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to work for one of the large funeral companies, just driving their cars.
Okay.
And I did that for a number of years, and I actually got a passion for the business. And I took my exams, got my diploma in funeral directing, and carried on working for them. And then in 2004, I took the plunge and opened up our office in Wellhall Road.
Yeah.
Because I thought there was a niche in the market for a small family-owned business. And I went from strength to strength. And then 3 years ago, we opened up our other branch over in Lock's Bottom, at Orpington, near the Princess Royal Hospital there. So that's how I got into it. And then after that, you know, I stayed in the Fire Brigade and I was working within the business part-time. And I've got some fantastic staff working for me now. I'd say we're still a small business, just with the 2 branches. But that's how I got involved in it, basically. And then, as I say, it's gone from strength to strength. And, you know, we've coupled with my love for the club. We've done some advertising there over the years. We've supported the club any way we can. And in turn, Millwall fans have supported me with their families when someone's passed away and they've needed our services. They've come to me, and it's been an absolute honour to look after them all.
Brilliant. Lovely to hear. So you mentioned about the fire service. I know a certain member of our No One Likes a Talking team, so a fireman. What's the connection there?
Well, the connection there, we're talking about age, and I'm going to show his age for him now, because I joined the fire service in 1989, and he was already a very senior officer in South East London.
Okay.
And he was based up at Lewisham, and he gave me my probation interview.
Oh wow!
And passed me. So he done a lot more. He did a lot more years than me. Yeah. Which started before me. But that's the connection with Eamon, and you know, I've got to know him more through the club. Yeah. He's gone from being a senior officer that we were all scared of to being a friend.
Well, it's funny. My son keeps running around saying, "I want to be a fireman, Daddy." So.
Yeah, it's a great job.
I've always wanted to be one myself, but time and place was never right for me. So,
no, right.
Yeah. So one last question. What do you make of Gary Rowett so far?
Well, with Gary, I think we're lucky to have him at the club, to be quite honest. I mean, Neil was fantastic for the club, absolute Millwall legend. I think he'd taken us far as he could go, and he felt that, and he felt it was time to leave. But to get someone of Gary's calibre in as a manager, I think it was fantastic for the club. You know, if you look at the clubs he's been at, the big clubs he's been manager at, he's done well. He knows the league, and from what I've seen, he's changed our style of football. He's come in, he's kept it on the floor. He's very professional in what he does, and you just look at our position in the league at the moment. Before we had to stop, I mean, I think it was getting really exciting for us. So, no, I'm really pleased to have Gary at the club.
Yeah, exactly. And you listen to the connections he has. He's on Sky. He's on football. He's got the right people around.
He has. Yeah. I mean, his backroom staff. You know what I've seen of them. You know, it's all very professional with his analysis and the people he knows within the game. So yeah, I think it's good for the club.
Well, thanks, Dean, and thank you for everything you do for Millwall Football Club.
No, Gary, keep safe, keep the family safe, and all Millwall fans, please keep safe, and hopefully we'll all get together again soon.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dean. Take care.
Thanks, Gary. Bye.
Dan, you have met Dean on a few occasions. In fact, I think you likened him to, was it Arthur Daly or Terry? I can't remember which one it was.
I wouldn't, well...
Go on.
Yeah, Dean's a real nice guy. No doubt about that. I don't see him as a Arthur Daly character. It would be an interesting thing, but... and also, he's a little bit younger than Arthur Daly was in his, what's the name? No, I would either say that you could either say he was like the Millwall's equivalent to Terry McCann, or, if not him, failing him, you could turn around and say, one of the other characters in mine, Sergeant Rycroft. Could align him to one of them two, but If he was in that show, old Dean, in one of them two roles, he would not looked out of place.
Well, I think you're probably right. But his commitment to the club and our Millwall fan show is quite fantastic over the years. I mean, his family funeral directors have been famously covered in Millwall's victory over Leicester City in so many images, and now, of course, he doesn't sponsor the corner flags, but he sponsors the corners. The amount of corners that goes on, it costs him more money. But anyhow, that's what he does. That sort of support are fantastic, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. You know, he's a man for all seasons, and his commitment to Millwall is just as a supporter. No one could ever question that. No, he's one of the good blokes, old Dean. So you know, all credit to him.
Dave, we need money coming into the club to keep it rolling, and the commitment by fans and major corporations can make a difference. This week, we read that our commercial earnings for last season totalled $3 million, which was below now lower league sides Ipswich and Rotherham, and $4 million short of London rivals QPR. What do you think that needs to happen at the Den?
Well, I think that when you look at Ipswich and Rotherham, they're in a one-team area, so they got a captured audience. QPR not so much because it's a London club, but in London, with the multiculturalism we've got in London, you've got people that live in London that support Wolves, Man United, Man City, all the top Premiership clubs. Millwall use the shop to a certain extent, but it fails on so many levels. There's never anything in the shop for young kids, like kit-wise. There's nothing in the shop for women. Women go into the shop to buy product from the shop. There's nothing to buy, and we're not a club that actually buys replica shirts to wear to go to games, like you see at a lot of clubs. If you go to Doncaster, it's like, where's Wally? Everyone's got the same shirt on.
Yeah.
It's not like that at Millwall. If Millwall could do a kit made by Stone Island or Ralph or a polo shirt, it'd be absolutely great. But this is the thing. And when you look at outside companies, major corporations coming in, putting investment into the club, the first thing they look at is our image, and it doesn't always help us. I would never change the image of my club. I'm not one. I'd never say go that, but it does have a big influence.
Yeah.
So we're always going to be battling against what is the norm for other teams.
Yeah, some of those challenges are in there, but I mean, we're in a unique position. We're probably the closest club to central London, one stop from London Bridge. The facilities at the Den are definitely going to get upgraded in the future, and that'll probably be further away than we thought it was a year ago. But the whole place is going to be regenerated, and maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to command bigger amount of money coming through in commercial revenue. Gary, top of the EFL commercial revenue league for last season were Leeds with 27 million, who along with ourselves, Forest, Bristol and others are believed to have deferred player wage payments as reported by Leeds Live this week. The paper also highlighted that they believe Preston and West Brom, amongst others, will require from the EFL to ban clubs with deferred player wage payments from signing players when the window opens, as they may gain an unfair advantage in the transfer market. Is this for real?
No, it can't be for real. Sorry, but clubs have got to do what they've got to do to try and survive. We've furloughed staff, we've thought about best options, and look, there are too many unfair things, and we've discussed a few of them tonight, and the 45-minute halves being dropped. I'm probably going to go on a little rant now and stuff like that, but some of the ideas that are coming out are absolutely ridiculous. But the game needs to start getting fair. Parachute payments should be a thing of the past, a long thing of the past for a long, long time. And it's just like if you get relegated and you get what, 100 million to, well, and talking
to come
about
back again.
Yeah, to come back again. But you're talking about the revenue in the last question you said to Dave. Well, that's the reason why is because we're trying to get by on, well, probably first division turnover. And you've got clubs like West Brom, Leeds. Okay, Leeds not, but because, like you said, they were one club town, getting more revenue from here, there, and everywhere, and etc. And better ownership and stuff like that a little bit as well with more money. But wow, no, definitely we've had to do what we do to survive.
I couldn't agree with you more, Gary. I mean, it's management of finances that has made clubs decide to defer payments. It's not because we're going to take an unfair advantage out of it. We've had to do that to survive. So I'd agree with you wholeheartedly on what was said there.
Exactly.
But that was a great interview, Gary, and it was good to hear from old Dean. And we must thank him in terms of how he continues to sponsor our Millwall Fan Show. That's much appreciated. Indeed. And we must also remember that he and his staff at the Dean Wilson Family Funeral Directors, I think, well, they're having somewhere 200% increase in funerals during this pandemic period. We wish them all the best and hope that they stay safe, come through it all without harm. Stan, it comes to mind you want to talk about Ian Gillen, as I remember. Do you want to let us know a little bit about Ian? He's quite a famous Millwall fan.
Oh yeah, I mean, old Ian. I mean, my view is he's a Stardust man, but he's had, like a lot of people, he's had a bit of a tough time recently because unfortunately his father died of this coronavirus. And when I was talking to him on the phone and sort of talking through it, and I said, "So how's everyone?" Oh, he said, "Well," he said, "This is not getting any better," he said. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And it turned out that his wife, she lost her father, so they had two losses in about a 10-day period. Offered him the condolences and like you would do, and I mean, Ian, as I said, is a Stardust man, and he follows Millwall religiously. When he comes down to Millwall from up north, I mean, he absolutely loves the place. And so I wish him, I know it's a difficult time, but I'm just hoping that, it's as difficult as it is, it's not been too difficult, if you get what I mean. And condolences to it, not only to him, but also condolences to his wife as well.
Yeah, condolences to Ian, his wife, his family, and their friends at this tragic time. I'm sure everyone would join in and say that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, that's all from us this week, and we hope you join us on our Millwall Fan Show again from 8 p.m. next Friday. In the meantime, we won't forget those who had lost their lives during the pandemic. Our thoughts go out to their families, friends, and those who may have cared for them. To the people who are key workers, and in particular the NHS, we're immensely grateful for the incredible work each and every one of you undertakes in these very challenging times. We recognise your bravery and commitment, and thank you for taking care of us when we need it most. You continue to be our heroes. To all, stay safe. And good night from me.
Good night, and stay safe.
Night.
The light at the end of the tunnel's coming closer.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. And again, everyone stay safe.
Keep it safe on the streets out there.